All right, happy May. Welcome back to the TC&A newsletter. We're looking forward to talking about priorities this
Yeah.
month. They come up every week in coaching, they come up in our own business and our own life, and so we know that it's relevant.
Yes,
And
we do.
we are here to be supportive of you and your leadership journey and really support your priorities and help you to have the outcomes that are going to be the most meaningful to you and the most impactful for what you're doing. And we thought it would be fun to start out with a little story. Uh, we spent the first chunk of this year with a large cohort globally and going through the engagement blueprint and lots of really great discussion, experiences with this group of people, this organization. And one of the VPs in a group said, when we were talking about priorities, something that's really good to bring up is the question, is it urgent or is it important? And sometimes things are both, yes, but not everything is urgent, right? And the group really resonated with that, and it resonated with me. And I'm thinking, I was grateful that he brought that into the dialogue. And then the meeting ended, and I was doing some, recaps, and I thought, there's a template that we designed that I think would be helpful to just touch back on. And so I went back into our files. We have so much content created over the last decade. And sure enough, we had a template that was about managing priorities, managing your energy, because you need to be able to know what energy level you're at when you're energized during the day and to have the best outcomes with your priorities. And right in the middle of the document was that same question, is it urgent or is it important? And so it just made me laugh that, of course, it resonated with me because we wrote about that
Right.
and so, Tess, why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about, your experience with this urgent versus the important. And I loved that everything just kind of supported one another in this story. And that's really what we do. We come alongside to be that added value for people.
Yes, yes. And that whole mindset may have originated from Stephen Covey, and with his time management principles, there's 4 different quadrants, and true to form, I tend to reflect on different readings, and then I condense it to what works for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't always follow rules very well, as you well know, and I like to be creative with what works for our client base and what we are listening to with our clients, and that seemed to be a very simple formulaic expression to, is it urgent or important? And we can distill things pretty quickly. When, if it's urgent, let's make it a priority, but if it's important and it's not urgent, then we can, there's some adjustments there. There's some flexibility there that we can make a different choice to prioritize.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we hear often too is that everybody, especially when you're working cross-functionally, everybody can think that what they need done is the most important. And
Mhm.
so how do you coach people when they come to you saying, well, everybody in sales thinks that what they need is most important, and then marketing thinks that it's most important. Other departments come in and, there's deadlines, there's all of these things to manage. Where do I even start with setting what is the most important priority if everybody feels like their need is urgent? Like, what's a good starting place?
That's a really good question. And I think what's interesting, it does go back to a personality preference as well. Because I was talking with a client this morning, and their personality preference is to be more of a troubleshooter.
Mhm.
So personality wise, they're able to get into a problem, solve it, pretty quickly with logic, analysis, and they emerge themselves quickly in their consciousness of being able to solve problems pretty quickly. And then there are other people that are more methodical, need more time to process. And so I really do think that the way we prioritize ends up being part of how our personality preferences
Mhm.
are.
Yeah.
And for you and I, we both like things to be more structured. We like to prepare. We like to be very well prepared. And we also like to plan and make sure that we've got things in order. We're constantly talking about what is the priority of this week or even
Mhm.
this day. Where other people they tend to be more open-ended, so the priorities for them are more challenging to discern. And that's a generalized statement. It's not a negative, it's just a matter of when things are more open-ended or more pressure prompted, we may struggle to prioritize because we're waiting for that burst of energy to give us that clarity of what we need in the moment as what's important. And that's fascinating to me because that goes back to behavioral science and how our minds work. And so I think when all is said and done, really being aware of your own self, and if you struggle prioritizing certain things, maybe you need someone, it may be a boss or it may even be an assistant that comes alongside and says, this is what's most important to
Yeah.
get done today. And that can be a great support system, right? It's okay to have that support system of what's most important. If we're more on the independent judging side of our personality where we like a lot of structure, we may not need all of that support, but input is always important as well. And we may be able to discern, I really need to focus on this, and everything else today needs to be in a different prioritization.
Yeah.
So giving ourselves that opportunity to, again, and we heard this a lot over this last quarter of, I just don't take time to reflect.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't take time to reflect, it's going to be hard to take time to prioritize, because prioritization is best when we have had time to reflect on what's really most important or urgent.
Yes, absolutely. And then taking it from that reflection to then where do I need to communicate what the priorities are and who do I need to communicate with?
Yes,
So that all parties that are depending on me or I'm depending on, that there is that cross-functional communication.
yes,
Because you can put a deadline to something, but if that's not a priority for somebody else, they may or may not make the deadline. And some of that is, partially within their personality preference as well, which we certainly support people with. But that communication, we hear often, well, we just didn't have that conversation, or
mhm,
we followed, we had our goals, our priorities for the week, but then something new came in that was actually more urgent, or maybe it was more exciting for somebody and they get lost in a bit of the excitement of what comes in and like, "Ooh, but is that really a priority?" And if you have the communication with your boss, your colleagues, the different departments, whoever is necessary to communicate with, then you can actually work with more confidence,
mhm.
knowing that I'm aligned in my priorities. Everybody else knows what I'm working on to a certain degree. We're not asking, for you to look for micromanagement here, but
Mhm, mhm.
really being clear with the priorities and communicating those to the necessary parties so that you really can work with confidence.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, as I'm listening to what you're saying and what we are both saying, being a person that prioritize, we need to reflect, to prioritize. And
Yes.
then we need to cross-functionally communicate. And there's a lot of breakdown there. We could do a whole seminar on cross-functional communication because we know that there's a lot of breakdown when there's cross-functional communication that's needed and it doesn't happen. But that's one of the most necessary keys when we're trying to stay in that alignment of what is the priority.
Yeah. And energy does play into that, because if we have more energy during certain times of the day, it's good to pay attention to
Mhm.
working on some of those more important things or things that need that kind of attention.
Yeah.
And again, you can do that confidently when you know that the other people that are depending on you already know, like, oh, she's going to wait until the end of the day to do that because that's going to work better for her. Or I'm going to get that first thing in the morning because I
Mhm.
know that that's, that's where she has that energy level. And unfortunately, that's just not talked about enough, or a lot even in, in the workforce. And we're here to continue to just shed light of really where is your best energy, because that's going to help lead you to prioritize. And then what I find with my own self and all of the things that I'm managing is that when I have those priorities set, then I'm actually usually able to get them done even quicker
Yeah.
because I know I have the roadmap.
Mhm.
And the
Yes.
more that we can make certain things predictable
Yes.
within the workplace and within our life, it will feel like there's just more flow
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
things feel easier. And everything doesn't always have to be so hard and complex.
I was thinking the same thing. Why can't we make things more simple for ourselves?
Yeah,
We hear this all the time, and we have to be mindful of it ourselves. Why complicate it when it doesn't have to be complicated? And this is, we are mindful that there are very complex things that people are doing that we support. It's very complex, and yet the more we can simplify things for ourselves, it creates this flow and this energy and this ability to actually um, be in greater alignment with the priorities that we need to complete.
yeah.
I
And
think that's a really good question. Am I in alignment with my priorities? Because I would venture to say I'm not in alignment with my priorities that I have committed to because I'm not getting them done. Or I
then
am in alignment with myself with the priorities because I am prioritizing and getting them done. So
yeah,
that may be the key foundational point of asking ourselves in reflection, am I truly in alignment with my priorities? Because if I am not, I'm not going to meet the deadlines or do the priorities.
yeah,
I
that's
will wait for it to be urgent. If I am in alignment, I will prioritize and get things done. And you and I find that to be true as we work on things and projects. We've got a lot of great projects in the works right now. And in fact, one of our team members, we've given her notice. We know there's a lot of work coming, and we're mindful of how we can support you as well. So we're practicing everything that we are communicating here, and we just want you to know that you're worthy of prioritizing versus being stressed out that there's no priority.
yeah,
And we don't have to choose stress. We can choose to prioritize and be in alignment with ourselves, with the priorities that we really want to get done.
yeah.
Yeah.
And as you're talking, the word presence and
Mm.
awareness comes to mind, and they always do in one way or the other. But if you're struggling to, really have alignment in your priorities or even know where to start, raising your awareness, being present, and really being able to reflect are going to be great starting places that will continue to expand. The awareness expands, the presence gets sharper,
Mhm.
and everything will, it just starts to feel like it makes a little bit more sense.
Mhm.
Even when the challenges arise, something comes up that we don't expect. Okay, I'm supported, I'm present, I have the awareness, and you can really make the decisions that are going to be best for you, and still get everything done that you need to, for your role and responsibilities. So we have a whole month of May packed with our Monday newsletters of support for your priorities, time, and energy. That template that I was talking about that we made years ago is in there
Yes,
as
yeah,
well. So
yeah.
if you're watching this and you haven't signed up yet, please sign up for our newsletter. And otherwise, we will see you on the next month. Thank you so much, Tess.
Thank you. And I just encourage everyone, sign up for the newsletter. It's free leadership coaching Mondays.
Yes. Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, right? Like it really is free coaching Mondays. And who
Mhm.
doesn't want to start their week with some additional support,
Yeah.
guidance, encouragement, and positivity too?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.